Hey guys, Sneaky Snake here, Brothers in Arms, World of Warships, and today's video we're going to take a look at a couple of games that we had playing a friendly scrim against the infamous OMNI clan. They are known as DPRK, Democratic People's Republic of Korea, on the NA server. They just hopped over here, I think about a month or so ago, and they are one of the best, if not the best clan for competitive scenes here in World of Warships. And also, of course, I'm sure plenty of you are aware that one of their players is the infamous streamer and YouTuber Flamu. Very good player. Their whole team is just littered with experience and depth across the board. And we were actually able to secure a nice 3-game scrimmage versus them. So I want to show you guys in these two replays, two of the games that we had facing off against these guys. And, you know, the whole NA-EU thing, I'm not going to get into that at all. I think it's very, very stupid. A lot of hate, a lot of animosity towards each group. We just wanted to have a friendly scrim and see how it went. And that's all I'm going to say about that. I'm not going to dive any more into it than I really could. So while you're watching this replay, note the play by myself. And trust me, I had to work for every single thing in both of these replays. And I'll be able to explain that as the replays progress. Very, very very good players. I can't even begin to describe you. And I'm not kissing ass here or, you know, trying to make them seem better than they are. They really, really put you through a mental workout for the entire game. And you will definitely be seeing that in both of these replays. And also, this is not... We do actually manage to win one of the games, the first replay that you're going to see here. And this is not trying to showboat. This is not us trying to fluff our feathers at all. I will say that the other two matches that we had, we got soundly beaten. This friendly scrim was just to, you know, go up against better competition, really, and see how we stack up, see how our metas clash against one another, and just have fun. And that's all it was, and that's all it was intended to be. And I think you guys will enjoy both of the replays that you're going to see here. So, as you all know, we've had a couple of Supremacy League matches over the past few weeks, myself and the Chappie, and then my buddy Spider was able to join the clan as well, and he is playing in his Kutuzov. So, you know, we've had a few games where we're showing the competitive side of World of Warships, and it's a lot of fun, I must say. Now, going on to my end, what do you need to know about the Chappie? Well, it's got, you know, a very nice reload, about 8 seconds, has 152mm guns, and you get 12 of them. You have a very nice range of 17.3 kilometers. You can also get the detectability range down to about 10.2, I believe, if you go with a full concealment build. Now, for competitive play, AA is very, very important. So I have defensive AA, of course, and I have a full AA build on this ship as well, which gives you a range of 7.2 on your long-range 100mm guns. And you also have, you know, pretty solid DPS for both the... I think it's 40mm guns on the Chappie, 37mm for the shorter range, and then, of course, the 100mm for the long range. Now, what you see here at the beginning of the game, what OMNI is doing, and I'll just refer to them as OMNI instead of DPRK. What they like to do in the few games that we were able to play against them is that they have extremely aggressive destroyer play. My first salvo of the game, however, I was able to get 2 base resets there on that enemy Akazuki off of 1 shell hit. So they're very aggressive with the destroyers, and one of the things that they do, you can see that guy that is lit up already, Kim Jong Obliterates. He is extremely good in his Amagi, and what they like to do, at least this is, again, my opinion, this is what I think that they like to do based off of what we saw. He kind of goes around on his own, and it's somewhat similar to what one of the other clans in the Supremacy League does. Have one of their Amagis just kind of, you know, go out about his own business. He does have a Benson over there to help him out and provide smoke, but he's able to get, you know, flanking shots in when, you know, you inevitably have to, you know, put your focus somewhere else. I also managed to not hit the Benson with any shells, but I still managed to get 2 more base resets, so that's very important. So he's a very good flanker, and he's very good at sitting out there by himself and just being able to deal damage. Now, one thing you'll notice for me in particular is that I like to run around with my AA off. The detection range of a Chapayev with a full concealment build from the air is 6.6, and that's 600 meters worth of space where enemy planes could get inside your AA bubble, and you're able to stay undetected, and then you can, you know, pop your defensive AA and turn on your AA as they're coming towards you, and they kind of get surprised by it. Now, looking at the gameplay as a whole, you can see our team has aggressively pushed through Alpha. The enemy team, however, does have B and C. It's 357 to 339, and we are contesting Objective Bravo, so we do have the early lead here, but you can see that the majority of the OMNI clan have moved up through in C, and now they're starting to push down into Bravo. And you can also see directly off the front of my ship, have a battleship, a cruiser, and then our buddy in the Kiev has been getting some harassing fire at the enemy OMNI, and that's one thing that we have a very good player in the Kiev. It's a very good ship for being able to harass and be able to get cheeky fires, and since you're going to be able to stick at pretty good range for the Kiev, I think it has a range of over 14 kilometers. It's able to shoot long range, at least for a destroyer, and not really have any problems dodging return fire. Now, another thing that also must be mentioned is the carrier play. EU is very known for their exceptional carrier play, and one of our carrier guys, Tux Penguin, who happens to be a moderator on Flamu's Twitch, he is in our CV, and the dynamics of the aerial combat, if you just watched for this game without paying any attention to the surface fleet, if you just watch how the aircraft intermingle, you need to use bombers to be able to spot stuff. The carriers are not like they are in the public eye. They're useful for spotting torpedoes, spotting enemy ships, and getting the occasional torpedo attack on a ship that's caught off guard. That's really what the carrier's role is. Now here, we're still trying to maneuver around, trying to get into B. My buddies on the left are continuing to push that OMNI away from me, but I'm actually in a bit of a precarious situation here as I'm starting to move in towards objective Bravo here. You can see I'm detected, and one thing about cruiser play in the competitive scene is that every single battleship, as soon as you get detected, especially the radar cruisers, aims at you. You can see I already have 2 battleships aiming at me as some shells do fly in from the North Carolina. So I have an OMNI on my left, and I have 2 battleships straight in front of me. So all 3 of them right now are actually looking at me. And there's also the 2 enemy destroyers, the Akazuki, that just pops up here on my left as I'm going to get my forward guns out at him. But look at that. You can see, as soon as you get spotted, they try to make you pay for it hard. So I'm in a very bad situation here. I'm bowing towards objective Bravo, but I can't afford to turn broadside to get away. However, I'm sure that one of the destroyers, either the Akazuki or maybe the Benson up there, has dropped their torpedoes on my direction, in my direction, I should say. And I'm also too far away from my buddies in the Benson smoke to be able to make it there without, again, presenting a broadside. So you can see here as I get another shot and I deploy my radar on the Benson, I'm actually going to take, it looks like 2 torpedoes there. I did back up here. I made a bad play, tried to speed forward right at the last second, and I was able at the very least to only take 1 torpedo, so that's good. However, I still want to get shots at the enemy Benson, who's lit up on radar, and I also use my rear turrets to shoot at the enemy Akazuki here. Now you can see again that the OMNI has really thrown their destroyers into objective Bravo, and now that they have captured objective Bravo, they have the 2-to-1 cap lead, so they're going to be getting 6 points to our 3 every 5 seconds here. And at this point, I need to go undetected. So what I'm going to do here is I dodge yet another salvo there from the enemy Alabama, is that I need to stop shooting and I need to keep my AA turned off. I have to be able to back up away from objective Bravo without shooting and without getting detected, and it's very difficult to do so once again because there's so many airplanes around. And you're going to see here as I'm backing up, an enemy fighter squadron is going to appear off my rear as Flamu manages to take out one of our Bensons. However, QQ and his Benson was able to drop torps into that smoke cloud that I was able to create when I tossed my radar up, and he does land a torpedo. So we have pulled the scores back. Each side has lost a DD, 468 to 510, but once again, OMNI is going to continue to gain points here. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, well, Sneaky, you really haven't done all that much in this game, and, well, like I mentioned earlier, it's just so difficult because those battleships, every single time you get detected, they will shoot at you, and with the great stealth fire nerf that just happened, obviously, if I shoot, anything within 17.3 kilometers of me is going to be able to detect me. Now you can see here the enemy fighter squadron is inbound on my position, and right here I was able to utilize the defensive AA. He got lulled in, didn't know exactly I was there until he got within 6.3 kilometers, and I was able to shoot down 4 of his 5 fighters, and then I immediately turned my AA back off. Now it's at this point that I feel very safe. I'm going to now go full speed, and I'm going to get the heck out of here. We have been able to push the enemy destroyers off of B, maybe because of my radar, maybe not. Either way, we do have some aggressive plane spotting going on from Tux over on the 5 and 6 line where it meets E and F. So now we have 2 destroyers that are moving into Bravo, and you can see here OMNI is continuing to move their ships somewhat around the objective, and they're trying to get into a better position. The Chapayev on their team hasn't been spotted for a while, and I'm now going to get some long-range shots at the Alabama, and there we go. The Chapayev does appear about 11 kilometers away from me, and you can see that they're moving in a line roughly down the 8 line on the mini-map. However, we are going to be able to get this cap, assuming that the Chapayev doesn't pop radar. Now I'm going to try to get some long-range shots here at the enemy Kutuzov. Maybe start a fire. Who knows? Just, you know, you always got to go for them cheeky shots. But the reason why I'm also zooming in and out as Amagi shells from my starboard side just land off the rear of my ship. The reason why I'm looking around at all the battleships everywhere is because in this kind of game, you just have to pay attention as a cruiser where all the battleships are. Since you have radar and it's such a potent force on the battlefield, you really do have to pay attention to every single battleship that is aiming at you. And again, I'm just looking around basically every time that I shoot my guns, seeing where they're at. And these battleships are not afraid to shoot at me, even if it's over 20 kilometers. You saw that Amagi, like I said, was well over 20 kilometers away, and he still took a punt at me. And again, it's something that you really do have to manage. So far, I've used my radar a couple times to help damage some destroyers. I was able to get one to smoke up, and then he got taken out by torpedoes, so that's very good. And now we have regained the lead. It's 573 to 612. However, we are going to start accruing points a bit faster than they are, so that's very good. So it was at this point that Mega Dude needed my assistance. Now you can see the Alabama continues to push his way. He's now on the 7 line, trying to get in between those two islands. And that's exactly where the Chapayev is as well. You can also see the enemy North Carolina on 8,000, make that 1K health. Very nice salvo from somebody over there. I think it was Raytheon in the smoke. So at this point, everybody was like, all right, we need to finish off that enemy North Carolina. However, I am out of range to be able to shoot at him. So now I'm going to try to loop some shells over the island and get a couple fires started here on the enemy Alabama. Now, I do not have Demolition Expert on this captain because, again, I am built fully for AA. However, I am going to be able to manage a couple of fires here on the next couple of salvos. Raytheon does manage to take out the enemy North Carolina, so we have now regained the lead, 670 to 579, and there we go. 5 shells break, but I do manage to set a fire. Now, it's at this point that Mega Dude decides he is going to go for it, and as the Chapayev goes off, I want to make sure that he is protected. Possibly that guy could be coming and making a charge right around the island, so I'm going to pop my radar here, and it's simply, again, to keep that Chapayev spotted to see where he is going. Now, once again, the Alabama has a full broadside shot on my buddy in the NorCal, but he's going to shoot at me. And again, this is something that you just have to deal with. A couple of shells do land, and I lose about 5,000 hit points. However, he is caught broadside. Mega Dude fires a full salvo into him. Unfortunately, does not get a single citadel as I land 3,200 with my forward guns, but we are able to chunk him down pretty nicely right there. Now, you can see here that my teammates have actually continued their push, and they're making their way all the way up to Objective Charlie. We were able to isolate the enemy Amagi, who's all the way over there in Delta 3, and he has taken quite a bit of damage from fire. And now it's at this point that I am going to try and shadow this Alabama, as it appears, at least the call out was made at the time, that he was going to continue to push and go into Objective Bravo. So that's why that I was moving over in this direction to try and get a good vantage point. And it's going to actually lead to a little bit of a potato moment here really quickly. My buddy in the destroyer up there, QQ, has managed to make his way onto Charlie, so now we have stopped the points gain completely for OMNI at this point. So we own a very nice advantage here. The majority of their team is still stuck on that 7-8 line. Unfortunately, the enemy Shokaku manages to take out our carrier, so now we're at a disadvantage of not having any planes, but we still have the lead, and then the Amagi takes out Raytheon in his NorCal, so all of a sudden they've pulled 2 of the scores back, and we're losing the game 662 to 703, but once again, we can afford to have that happen as the Alabama is about to die because we have 2 of the caps and we're denying them the 3rd, and then Voss and his Kutuzov is able to burn down the Alabama, so I'm not needed over here, and I totally potatoed into the island. That's exactly what I was going for. The Chapayev does manage to launch his radar, however, and now I have to pay attention here to the enemy Amagi as I look over there once and then I do a double take, and I'm just trying to see if he is actually aiming at me. And it appears he is turning to port to be able to bring his guns to bear, so I really do have to get out of here and try and help out. You can also see on the mini-map that the enemy Chapayev is making a move towards my friendly North Carolina. Mega Dude over there off my port side, so I'm going to try and get in position to help him out. However, this Chapayev player is certainly no slack. He has his guns aimed at me while he's actually making the charge towards Mega Dude. Luckily for me, most of the shells AP hit in the superstructure, and I only take about 4,000 points of damage from him. Now, I do not have expert marksman on this guy either, so it's going to take a little bit for my turrets to be able to traverse and be able to, you know, shoot at Kim Jong-aids here. He does manage to launch his torpedo salvo against the North Carolina. However, now I'm going to be able to help him out and start chunking down his hit points. Armor piercing salvo out. Quite a few overpens for about 2,000 points of damage. I'm going to continue to shoot at this guy. I only have 14,000 hit points. He has about double my hit points and gets a double fire, so I'm going to immediately have to use my damage control here, as I do take a couple of salvos from the rear from the enemy Amagi. Switch back to the high explosive, however, and hopefully me and Megadude will be able to secure this kill here. I switch back to high explosive, trying to light a fire onto him, taking some damage, tanking some of his shots. Shin and Zath are able to get kills within a couple seconds of each other, so it's 925 to 538, and we own all the caps. We pretty much have the game in the bag here as I light a fire on the enemy Chapayev. Unfortunately, I get lit on fire as well. I'm not going to be able to put it out, so his next salvo should be able to secure the kill on me. However, again, this game is in the bag. We were able to keep them on the right side of the map as I die, and then Megadude is able to take care of the Chapayev, and it's at this point in the game we realize that we're going to secure the victory. We were able to push them away from the caps as they made their move down towards Bravo, and we were able to get them to move in between the islands, where it was then very easy for our flanking force that was going up to C to be able to get shots on them from a different direction, and basically, yeah, we were able to take care of a business. So this was the first game of the night, and we were able to take care of a victory here. Alrighty, guys, we're now going to take a look here at the second clip of gameplay. Now, I will humble myself and everybody else in APOC in saying that the second match was a unmitigated disaster. We got completely swept up. I believe every single ship on our team died, and they didn't lose a single one on Islands of Ice. They had a strat that was something that we just never had dealt with before and got completely chewed up and spit out by it, and that might even be a bit of an understatement. So clearly they were able to regain control, and this is the game tied 1 apiece, the last game of the evening. Now, once again, please note how difficult it is for me to be able to make a substantial impact on the game. However, this one is going to be a lot more closely contested than that second game was, and although we are eventually going to lose this one, after the 3 games that we played, we were modestly, happy, I suppose is the word to use, in the way that we were able to play. Now, at the beginning of this game, we decided that we were going to make an A-B push. Now, it's a strat that we haven't run too often. Generally speaking, we have had some success on this map going A and B, especially when we have our Kiev to be able to scoot around down at A and hopefully be able to move unmolested through the objective and then kind of flank in on B over on the EF line where it meets the 2-3 and just kind of be a flanker over there. But this is one of the other maps that we still haven't figured out our best strats yet in trying to deal with it. And the one that OMNI is going to use here is something that, well, we just don't have a counter for. And that's okay, because getting to play against this kind of competition allows us, at least I hope so, to be able to get better and compete even better. And again, that's what these scrims were about, so please do not lose sight of that while you're watching these. So at this point, we see that as the enemy team starts to get spotted by Tux's fighters and bombers, you can see that they're also making an A-B push as well. Now, one thing that you might have noticed so far about them is that they kind of have a small ball lineup, so to speak. I'm taking basketball terminology here, where they're able to effectively control the map by only having a couple or a few ships in somewhat isolated positions. Now, I use the word isolated very carefully here because they're still all within shouting distance of each other, and they're still able to give mutually supporting fires, but they're exceptionally well-versed in being able to take a couple or a few ships to a side and being able to hold back the enemy's attack, in that case us, with only a handful of warships. And it's something that's, again, it's just something that's impressive, and we're certainly going to struggle to take care of that in this game. But it's going to be a lot more slow-paced, however. They're going to be very patient about their gameplay. And generally speaking, both in Supremacy League and competitive in general, the team that is more patient is the one that generally is able to win out the games. And you saw in the first one, we were very patient when we were watching them move from C to B, and we waited to pounce on them at the right time and going in and getting the caps as well. So, again, very patient, and that's something that they do extremely well at. Now, you can see here that I have not decided to shoot at the enemy Alabama. He's only 15 kilometers away, which is certainly within my gun range, effective gun range, that is, too. They have captured Objective Alpha, something they're also very good at, being able to get the early cap at the beginning of the game. However, I do pop my first radar. We're trying to get control of B, and we decided to switch back to a BC strat. Now, you can see here, however, that there is an Amagi and a Chapayev that's over in Charlie 6 and 7 going through that little area right there. So at this point, I do take a pot shot at the Benson. I do not manage to hit him, but my radar has been able to force him to get out of the cap. And hey, that's a small victory for me as the radar cruiser, being able to get those destroyers to move. And now we have a lone DD that's available to take over Bravo. And then, of course, the Alabama wastes no time whatsoever as I go undetected in taking a pot shot at me. Luckily, I only take 2 shells for about 4,300 damage. One of them must have been an overpen and another a decent penetration shot. So I'm very lucky there not to lose too many more hit points, but once again, you got to be very, very careful in these cruisers. It's so difficult, and this one is going to be even more so. Now, we are getting some very good shots here at the enemy Amagi, obliterates over there, and the Chapayev realizes that he should probably not be going out. We have the Kiev, and we also have the North Carolina that's moving into the objective as well, and then Spyder in his Kutuzov is also getting some long-range shots at that guy as well. So at this point, we're just trying to get this guy's hit points to burn away as fast as possible. That's the main goal. We need to get this guy to a hit point total that would, prevent him from being too overly aggressive. Now, obviously, fires do take a very long time to kill ships, and especially battleships. And that's something that in the competitive scene, getting fires is nice, but they're going to be able to repair the majority, or if not all, of the hit points. As I take a look back, and the Alabama once again takes a shot at me, so I have to keep moving away. I'm also looking to see if the Amagi is going to turn too and try to get some shots at me as well. But at this point, once again, there's really nothing that I can do. I do take one right through the butt for another 4,000, just chinking away at my hit points, so to speak. That's basically how they do it. They just they bleed you down. And something else to note throughout this game is, except for that Amagi at the beginning here, where he's going to take a significant portion of his health taken away, and he's going to lose over half of his hit points by the time he's able to get away from C, the amount of hit points that they're going to have at the end of the game is also something to take note of as well. Now, you can see here we are now finally in Objective Charlie. Our buddy in the Benson Rabadou is going to go up and try and smoke the North Carolina, who is taking some fire. They still have a hold of Alpha. It's 348 to 396, and at this point, we felt that we made a pretty decent audible on the fly. We were going to originally go A-B, but obviously there was a significant enemy presence down there, enough of which we just didn't feel that we were going to be able to win that engagement. It would have been the Amagi, the North Carolina, and myself, and one of the Bensons versus Flammu, who's down there as well, in his Otago, and then, of course, the Alabama, and there's also an Amagi over there as well. So we just didn't feel that would be a very beneficial engagement, even though that we would have had an extra ship available to us. So we flexed back up north, and so far at this point in the game, we were feeling pretty decent right here. Now, I'm watching some torpedoes going out in the Alabama. King John Apes, however, was able to detect those right about now, and he's going to slowly move forward and get out of the way. But at this point, it felt pretty decent. Like I said, it felt pretty decent. Now, again, the whole stealth fire thing has really changed the dynamic of the Chapayev, because I really do have to stay at arm's length, and I do really have to be careful about about aircraft. And again, that's why I'm running around with my AA turned off, because there's no reason for me to get, cheekily detected. And again, I know it's only a 600-meter difference, but that's huge, especially with the very poor maneuverability of the ship. It's very fast, but its turning radius is abysmal. It's like 890 meters, and the rudder shift time isn't very impressive as well. So it takes a while to get the ship turning, and it makes it very easy to get big hits on this thing when you're not paying attention and enemy battleships get your number. Now, at this point, as I'm moving in towards Objective Bravo, I see that it's getting capped, so I'm getting ready to use my radar for the cap, and then all of a sudden this enemy Benson appears 7.5 kilometers off my starboard side, so I'm going to try to swing my guns into position. We also got my buddy Rabadou shooting. Everybody at Charlie is getting ready to shoot, and is now shooting at the enemy Benson, so it's at this point that I decide to pop my next radar. And at this point, the first shot was actually really bad. Only 726 here. Now, the ion gets in the way a little bit, so I'm only going to really be able to get one more effective salvo out, as my rear turrets do manage to hit the ion. I do hit a couple of them, however, 1452. The Benson is down to about half hit points as I shoot my rear turrets, but I have to keep turning because I know that Alabama that's over there is probably hunting. As you can hear the shell splashes off my stern section. One of the Amagi shot at me as well. So once again, I move in close enough to be able to use my radar, use it for the 20 seconds that it's active for, and then I really do have to hightail it out of here. And quite frankly, I don't even really need to be shooting right here, but you can see I'm just looking everywhere, and I know that there's that other enemy Amagi. There we go. He's in Alpha 5 right now, making a loop around back. I do take one overpen right through the side, however, from the Alabama. But at this point, once again, there's really nothing that I can do. These battleships, again, the second that I give my position away, they are ready to pounce. And it's just difficult, man. It is so difficult to deal with it. I've only been doing competitive for about 5 weeks now, but I'm a pretty good player in my own right, and like I said earlier, these guys, they give you a mental workout, and it's so difficult to be able to, at least in my opinion, feel effective for my team. So yeah, at this point, they're now getting ready to fully capture Objective Bravo. It's 462 to 507. We're keeping the game within 40 points, but unfortunately, we're not going to be able to get on Bravo and take it back at this point. We've had to move the Amagi and the North Carolina away from Bravo, because if they would have stayed down there, you could already see that they've lost a decent chunk of their hit points. And there was actually a position that Flamu was in. I watched his stream. He did stream this. I think I might have already said that. But he was down there hiding in the islands at A, getting some massive damage done with fire and HE through flanking shots. And you can see there, he's at 16 kilometers away. So at this point, I decide to swing my guns into play against him, because I'm trying to keep him away from my friendly battleships. So I'm moving out just behind them, and I'm hopefully going to be able to turn him away. But at this point, I still have to be careful, of course, of the Alabama and the Amagi, because they are within effective range of me. And once again, it is just difficult to be able to deal damage when all the battleships are eagerly going to be taking a punt at you. So I shoot my first broadside here at the enemy Otago, and I'm looking here again to try and get him to at least turn and get away. He has set the Amagi on fire, but at this point he does start to turn in. Again, going to keep the suppressive fire up, and hopefully we're going to be able to push him away. It's 504 to 597, but unfortunately, they're going to be able to slowly build up the lead. Now, you can see here, this is really just the part that we failed in this game. You can see that the enemy ships have regrouped that went to C along the B line in the 4, 5, and 6 grid square. And what they were able to do was get out of there. Now, the Chapayev is only on 10,000 hit points at this point, and the Amagi is below half health over there, but we weren't able to secure the kills. Maybe due to me not being able to get fire on them as well, as I take a couple of hits there from Flamu, but we just weren't able to finish those kills, and that's going to come back and bite us in the butt. And like I said, these guys are extremely patient. They didn't continue to push in there because they realized that there was really no point. As I dodge some more shells from the Amagi here as I go undetected, they realized there was no point in continuing the push in there, so they decided to let us have it. And as you can see now, as the battle has progressed, we're kind of stuck in between C and B. Again, we do have C, but we're just stuck here, and there's really nothing that we could do. You can see the 2 enemy battleships are still on the outside of B. There's still 2 enemy destroyers that are down there as well. That's where they've stayed basically the entire game. More shells come in, take about 5k right through the butt, so I'm down to about half hit points. But yeah, they've just been able to sit there, and the only way we're going to be able to move them is to be very aggressive. But that is really the downfall in competitive play. It sounds great on paper to be like, hey guys, we need to make this push right now and we'll be fine. But in actuality, you know, it's just not, it's not good strat. You really do need to be passive at the beginning more so than aggressive, and then pounce on those opportunities when you're able to, which again, you're going to see here in a little bit. So it's 561 to 693. They're about to go over 700 points for the game. My buddy QQ there and his Benson, he's going to be trying to get back onto base. So I still have 2 radars left. So now I'm going to go undetected here, and I'm going to try to swing away and get down and help at Bravo. Flamu is still sitting there at 15.5 kilometers. Like I said, the Otago is able to do, when you compare it to a Kiev, they're both able to do the same exact thing. They're both very good solo ships that are able to go out on the flanks by themselves and be very, very annoying. As you can see there, my buddy in the Amagi taking some fire damage there now from his high explosive shells. And you can see here, he's just slowly kiting away and getting effective shots in here, and he's just trying to burn down his hit points and burn down his repair. And there's really nothing that we can do about it at the moment. So having that guy on the flank is, again, something that we're just not used to. It's a strat that we don't really have a plan for, and you can clearly see how we're struggling here. We're still boxed in up here at C, and it was at pretty much this point that we realized that we had to make a push here. And like I said, when you try and make a push, it generally does not turn out in your favor. And you can see there that Chapayev still on 10,000 hit points, and that Amagi has gotten some of his hit points back. But again, we're in a position right now where there's just really nothing we can do. And I know I'm harping and beating a dead horse here, but really, there is literally nothing that we can do. Both of our Bensons are now going onto the cap at Bravo, and we are getting it back, so we are, now in a position where we're at least holding off 3 of their points every 5 seconds. It's 612 to 783. And at this point, I'm trying to move once again into radar range to be able to help out our destroyers. Now, you can see right about now, the BCAP, the capture bar, is going to stop. So what this means is that, of course, there's an enemy destroyer on the cap, and he's probably in the grid E5 or F5, my guess here. So Yeah, at this point, I'm getting into radar range. I'm going to try and help the Bensons out. And right about now, I believe, I'm going to pop my third radar of the game. I take a look over at the Chapayev to see if I can get a shot on him. I can't. There goes the radar. I'm now detected by aircraft, so sooner than later here, I'm going to also pop my defensive AA as the planes are going to get a little bit too close to me. And right there is one Benson on the cap, but you see the way that he's positioned. He's positioned backwards towards his spawn, so that he can, speed up really quickly at a moment's notice. And it's now that I'm going to pop my defensive AA as some torpedo planes, some bombers, and some fighters are over the Bensons on B right now. However, I was able to help move that Benson off of B. It appears at this point, after he dropped his torpedoes, that he is going to let us get the cap at Bravo. But once again, even though we're going to be able to get this objective, as I do take a hit, I was able to move just in time from those Amagi shells over there. Once again, at this point, we're still stuck here. You can see the majority of our ships are stuck now on the 7 line. And Flame Unizatago is still out there, kiting away, getting some good shots on us in the flank. And there's really nothing we can do about it. It's now 666 to 834. We do now, again, have a 2-to-1 cap lead at this point. But I got to get in smoke. I only have 12,000 hit points left, and there's really no reason for me to be out in the open at this point. So I'm now going to try to get some shots here on the Alabama. But once again, look at the Amagi. He's got 48,000 hit points. The Alabama, he's got 44. The Amagi, he's got 58. They were able to play the hit point game almost flawlessly, to be quite honest with you. And we're just having trouble securing these kills or getting them down to where it's a lot easier for us to kill him. More shells flying in on the Bama, and I do manage to be able to get a fire set on him, so that's always good. But once again, dealing fire damage is nice and all, but you're not going to be able to kill ships very quickly like that. And even the Kutuzov back there has almost 20k hit points, so I mean, again, we're kind of stuck here. It looks like we're clawing our way back into us, but yeah, we're gonna be struggling here really soon. Right there, King Jung is able to take care of our North Carolina, so now it's 672 to 907. So at this point, the game has pretty much been decided. There's only been one ship destroyed, and it's almost been going on for 15 minutes. So very good plays, honestly, on our part as well. Not really, taking any catastrophic damage. Getting chipped away from time to time, but unfortunately we do lose the NorCal, and it's at this point the Flamer decides to make his aggressive push in here on the flank. So now we're in a completely untenable position. Unfortunately, the destroyer smoke has gone out at this point. So again, even though we have the cap lead, we need to get a kill, like right now. We really do need to get a kill to bring those scores back. There's 436 left in the game, and it's at this point that I'm going to go try and deal with the Otago that's coming in on the flank. But unfortunately for me, behind me, my battleship friends are not going to be able to get any shots on them, simply because it's going to take a long time for their turrets to get turned here. I see he's going broadside, so I'm looking for the shot here. He's going to take a punt at the battleships that are behind me. So hopefully, once again, I'm going to be able to push him away. But he has an over double hit point advantage to me, and he also has access to the heel. So even though I get a very nice high explosive shot there, he's now going to start focusing me. And of course, look at the number right there. There were 4 enemy ships that were looking at me for a split second. And just as I turn in, I'm not only going to take some shots here from Flamu, but I'm also going to take some hits from one of the enemy Amagis, I think right about now. See, Kim Jung is now moving in towards Objective Charlie. We still have the 2-to-1 cap lead, but they are only 50 points away from winning this game, and I'm about to die. I only have 5,000 hit points, and clearly every one of them is going to be shooting at me because, if they get the kill right here, they're going to win the game. And now make that 3 ships, make that 4 ships. Yeah, I'm getting focused, and there's nothing I'm going to be able to do. My repair is on cooldown, and yeah, that's the game right here. More shells are going to come in right from the rear, right about now from Flamu, and he is going to take care of me, and we're going to lose the game here on the map Atlantic. Alrighty guys, well, I hope you enjoyed both clips of gameplay. Going into those matches, we really weren't sure at all how we would fare, and clearly the EU meta, there's a lot more flexibility with them, and it also seems like they have just the most individually skilled players out there. It's something that is very, very impressive, to be quite frank with you, and it was something that both parties after the games were over with. We were happy that we were able to do that. It was fun. It was fun. Even though we got our butts whooped in 2 of the games, it was really fun to be able to do that. And to be able to sneak out a win like that. Again, I know it's just a friendly scrim. I know the dynamics are a little different, but it made us feel a little bit better. And clearly there's a lot that we can take out of those games to help improve our own gameplay. So any Omni guys that do manage to watch a little bit of this or hear this segment, thank you once again for allowing us to be able to scrim against you. And to everybody watching, I really hope you guys enjoyed this competitive gameplay. So with all that being said, Sneaky Snake here for Brothers in Arms World of Warships signing off. Please leave a like, comment on the video, maybe subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed it that much. All of it is much appreciated. So yeah, have a great day guys. Thank you.